Hey Photo World, welcome back to another episode here on takeandtalkpics.com. This is another episode from the former podcast. Please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and join the email list. Let's get to that 1,000 subscriber marker so that way I can add a new video every single week. Enjoy. Episode 26 featuring husband and wife team Tim and Sarah with their business, Ryon Lockhart Photography.
If your gut is saying that this could be something good, just do it.
Hey Photo World, today's featured guests, that's right, plural, they are Tim Ryon and Sarah Lockhart of Ryon Lockhart Photography. These two lovebirds found one another despite growing up a world apart. Their shared passion for photography just adds to their love story, and this could be the very influence that allows for their wedding photography to be so beautiful. Tim and Sarah bounce between LA and New York, but they travel everywhere between and beyond, capturing newlyweds. Tim, Sarah, welcome to Take and Talk Pics.
Hi, Rob. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I've shared a very little bit about the two of you and even less about your business, but go ahead and introduce yourselves a little bit to Photo World.
All right. My name is Sarah Lockhart.
And I'm Tim Ryon.
We've been shooting for, 15 years, probably separately, and then together about 8 years, and we've been married for 3.5.
Yes.
Very nice.
So, we shoot weddings mostly, and a lot of travel work and architecture work, all in between.
Yeah, weddings are Sarah's primary job, and then I actually work as a digital tech and assistant in commercial photography during the week.
Nice.
Take care of all the computer and tech related duties for our own wedding business, making sure that Sarah has a computer to use.
Years of shooting on your own, and then you found one another. What brought you two together? Was it something outside of photography, or was it photography that ended up having you two meet?
That's a great question. It was photography, I guess. I worked in a studio, and Tim would come in all the time, and we were friends for a number of years before we started dating.
Okay. Awesome.
But yeah, definitely photography.
Yeah, it was a rental studio here in New York, and photographers that I worked for would come in to shoot there, and so gradually got to know Sarah and actually have a couple other friends that used to work at the studio as well.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, that's kind of cool. I think a lot of us photographers out there think that's kind of the bigger dream if we see marriage and a relationship like that as a future. Like, wouldn't it just be easier if we were both photographers, you know? Or maybe it's harder. I don't know.
So much.
You know?
There's pros and cons for sure.
Why is he using that lens? No, I mean, it could be anything. So, awesome. Well, Take and Talk Pics is about sharing your story and mostly your photography story. But if we want to get into the personal stuff like I just forced you, that's fine too. So can you guys start us off with something in the way of inspiration that kind of gets you motivated, keeps you going? If you have a quote or a mantra that you run your business by or the two of you live by, can you share that with Photo World?
I saw a quote a while back that's always kind of stuck with me. It's opportunity is missed by most people because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. And pretty much, I think the moral of that is really that we just work our butts off. I mean, we never expect anything to come to us. Nothing's ever fallen in our laps. Really, every day it's getting up and working really hard for our business and with each other. And it's, constantly changing, but, it's not quite as glamorous or as exciting as I think people would like for it to be. But it's definitely all really worth it in the end, for sure.
Yeah.
I would say, or as it seems from the outside.
Yeah.
Right, because there's a lot of jobs that seem amazing or perfect or whatever it might be from the
Just
outside.
exciting,
and then when you
yeah.
get inside, you realize it is still just a job. We do love what we do for sure, but some days it is a job.
Yeah.
I would say there's no quote. I was racking my brain and trying to think of a quote maybe that fit, but I feel as though I just think of it as, working hard and being a nice person will get you a long ways.
Yeah.
Pretty much for me, yeah, that's what it would be, I suppose. Or you could say work hard, play hard, and treat people how you want to be treated. Because I think, the off time is very important too, especially because it is something we love to do. Sometimes it's good to be able to do something else other than photography, because that can pervade every part of your life, because it can be a hobby. It's something that you love, and it's all your.
Yeah, and it's good to have that mix, because if it was just your business at all times for photography and you didn't do much else, being self-employed, it is hard to forget about what you have yet to do that day or tomorrow, and things just stack up really quickly. So using it for other directions and stuff is not a bad idea. We can take this one separately because it started separately for the two of you. What sparked your interest in photography enough to pursue it as a career?
So I grew up in a small town where pretty much I figured I would be maybe a teacher. I had never really thought of photography as a career. And I know I always really enjoyed photography. I enjoyed taking pictures. It's been a part of my life, honestly, for as long as I can remember. All of my friends would have to model for me when I was like 12 with my point and shoot camera. But I think I was 16 or 17. I visited my sister who was living in New York at the time and met a few people who really inspired me and made me feel like it was something that I could actually do. I think it was the first time I'd ever stepped outside of, bubble, I guess, that we all grow up in at some point.
Yeah.
And really ever since then, I've been moving forward in that direction and never really looked back. So I don't know if there's a real set answer to that. It's kind of just in my bones. It's always been a part of who I am.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that works out for a lot of people where it's just one thing led to another. You started out just doing it, and you kind of look back and go, I don't know how I got here, but here I am. So that's a good way to do it. How about you, Tim? Where did it all begin for you?
I can't say that I've been into photography since I was a little kid necessarily, but I don't know. At some point, I found out I did enjoy taking photographs. I actually didn't do anything in photography in high school because I feel like a good portion of photographers, did something school related or something in high school. But after high school, I decided that I had been going to school long enough. I needed to take some time off. And when I did start, I went to a community college, didn't know what to study. And after a certain point, it was suggested to me that maybe I could study photography. And I'd never thought of that as an actual viable career. You always think of a doctor, an accountant, or whatever it might be, normal things that you would have a normal 9-to-5 job. And so I started to study that, not quite knowing where I wanted to go with it, ended up transferring to a bigger school and found out more about commercial photography rather than art photography, which seemed also like much more of a viable actual job as well. Because as much as we would all love to be making a lot of money off of art photography, it's a very difficult world.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much, I suppose, kind of how it went. Still, I guess maybe somewhat of a natural progression because it was photography for a number of years, but exactly what I wanted to do and how I would get there definitely kept changing and is still changing. So
absolutely,
it's never evolving, right? You're never done. You're never like, I'm at the point where I've always wanted to be. I think that's constantly shifting, and I think that's what's so great about this job as well.
It's like you start checking off a list that never really existed, going, "Oh, I accomplished that. What else can I do?"
Yeah. So, it's a good way of putting it.
And with what you said, Tim, I don't know about you, but when I told my parents I wanted to do photography, they looked at me and said, "Oh my gosh, our son's going to be broke forever." Like, oh yeah, just that's the consensus with so many people, and it's actually the truth for a lot of people who attempt it. I mean, it really is. So it's difficult to get started and go for it, and seeing it as a career. And I think it comes into more of the business side and understanding that if you can manage that, if you can handle the business that goes along with it, then there is potential, there's possibility to make your photography the career. I was very fortunate early on to work for a photographer and see a business that was already in full swing and making money. And that kind of helped prove it to me and to my parents that, this is doable. You can live and it's okay. But yeah, when we're shooting, when we're working, when we're interacting with clients, we have good times and we definitely have bad times. And hopefully we're learning from those bad times, those failure moments. Can the two of you recall something in your career together as a failure moment that might have just been, difficult and, a little hang up that happened, but, it paid off now because you're never going to make that mistake again?
We talked about this one for a while. I can't think of any really big failure moment. I think that, we make mistakes and learn from them daily. We've worked really hard to be mindful and thoughtful going into this business and, taking our time with big decisions that we're making. And I think that we haven't really had any huge hiccup. And I know that is probably not helpful at all to hear, but
no, that is helpful, but let's transition a little bit because there's different levels. So give me something little, just something that got in the way, like, you know what, darn it, we should have been blogging a year ago or whatever, anything.
I think we overdid it last year, to be honest with you. I think we took on way more than I was able to really handle, and it took over our life. For the most part, I was up until 3 or 4 in the morning on a regular basis, finishing things up for clients. We have a contract with all of our clients saying when they're going to get their images in, and I've never missed the date, but there's been many sleepless nights in between getting things done for people. So I think we bit off a little bit more than we could chew, and that was a learning experience in itself. And I think moving forward this year, we've decided, okay, so we're going to have to limit the amount of, work that's coming in, which is a great problem to have. I hate complaining that there was so much coming in, we couldn't handle it, but that was definitely the problem. It was just the two of us. We don't have, people in an office working for us at this point. So I want to make sure all of our clients have a lot of interaction with us. I want to make sure they feel like we're paying attention to them and answering all their emails, and that just takes time. So absolutely. I would say that's been one of the biggest problems so far.
No, and that's a great one for you to have. Of course, that's an excellent problem to have. I mean, we all hear that phone ring or get that email and we just want to say, am I available? Yes, that means I can do it. But you got to think about all the other time beforehand that goes into that interaction with the client, back and forth, setting it up, any meetings, correspondence, and then taking care of those images afterwards, delivery. There's so much more time stacked into saying yes to that one shoot or that one day.
Absolutely.
So it does take a while to not turn down work, but to pick and choose more carefully about the work you are taking in, and then find your network and pass off the ones you can't take, or, whatever your solution is on that end. So it's a good approach
absolutely
good progress right there.
As a response to what you're saying about picking your clients, I think that's really important. I think that people should definitely meet with everybody before. I mean, we're kind of digressing a little bit here, but definitely meet with all of your clients beforehand. Make sure they're people that you feel really comfortable with, that you're going to be wanting to work with for about a year, because that's, especially when you're shooting weddings, you're not just seeing these people one day, you're seeing these people, a few times if you're doing an engagement session, and after the wedding, you're in contact with them after, and family members. And, it's such an important day for everybody. And you have to make sure that these are people that you're really connecting with as well. I think that makes a big difference in the final product that we're providing for them.
Absolutely. It's not just a service. It ends up being a relationship.
100%. Yeah. We've had a lot of great friendships come from this job. So
and maybe this is a great segue into our next question. And maybe it's actually the answer to it, but what would you consider to be the most important practice to your photography and your business? Is there a piece in your workflow, or just how you work with clients, something that stands out that's there for every single job?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's really, I think for weddings, especially, it's such a personal experience. And, while this is a business that we're running, you have to be really mindful of the fact that this is a highly emotional day for people, and you have to be really sensitive to that. So I'd say, obviously, work your butt off and produce great work for everybody. But at the same time, being a nice human goes a really long way. Being, thoughtful and taking the time to get to know your clients, it really matters, I think. And it matters to me, and I know it matters to our clients. Remember the people behind the pictures. And yeah, I would say that's the main thing.
Yeah, we're all rocking and rolling in this digital age with social media and everything's moving a mile a minute. And the personal touch, that customer service, is still huge, and people are forgetting about it more and more and more. So I love that ends up being a highlight in these interviews when I'm speaking with people, that you can't forget that, because pictures can happen anywhere, anytime, from anybody, but they're hiring you for a reason, and it's more than just the photos. I mean, that's part of it, but there's the hiring of you that comes out of it,
Especially in the wedding business, because they're not professional people who are hiring you to do a job. Mm-hmm. It's a very special event on their wedding day, on a big day for them, possibly the biggest day up until that point. And we spend so much time with them that it is really important. And I know how I feel. I probably notice it. Yeah. So,
it's funny answering these questions together. I think one of the really great things about working with a partner is that you're two very different people coming into a situation and offering, different things. So it's always fun having initial meetings with clients, because I'm like, how are you feeling? And tell me about your story. And Tim is a little bit more like, and let's go over the contract. And so it works out really well because of our differing personalities. I think, I don't know. I think that it works in our benefit. It does work well.
I mean, any sort of partnership, right, is not that different in some ways from a marriage, and sometimes it happens to include a marriage, and sometimes it doesn't. Either way, it does seem to work really well to kind of complement each other. Obviously, that comes with its own set of difficulties. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there can be differences about things, and that's probably part of the reason why, for most of the questions, we do have slightly different answers as well, because there is maybe one thing for the business, because we do agree pretty well on most business decisions. But then personally, because for instance, I would say for me, one of the most important things in my photography, because I do some of my own stuff and I work in commercial photography and I work with a lot of tech stuff, it is kind of important. Like you were saying, there's a lot of stuff that really concentrates on that, because it concentrates on the latest camera that Canon and Nikon just is putting out, or computers, or whatever it might be. And when we started, that wasn't as much of an issue, because you had your camera, and then it was talking all about what film you were using and how you were rating it and how you were processing it. Right. So it's going to happen in photography no matter what. Photography attracts us who are somewhat kind of nerdy and enjoy things like that. Mm-hmm. And I think it now is, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how maybe tech-oriented you are, it is kind of good to keep up on what's happening. It doesn't need to be the sole focus, because you can take a great picture with an okay camera, or you can take a horrible picture with an amazing camera. Right. But it does help, because I have met and work with some people who are a little out of touch and where things are going. And depending on what you're doing, I think that can be a detriment, because if you don't know that maybe there's a new product or a new thing that can help you in your business or help you with taking photographs, that can actually put you at a disadvantage. Right. Or on the other hand, if you're too up on it and all you're doing is trying to get the latest and greatest because you think that's what's going to make the difference, it may not. It does kind of contradict each other, but I feel like, again, it's all about balance, right? That's life. Right. Balance and personality. And back to the two of you having different answers and different approaches to the business, I think it's kind of a really lucky balance that you guys have, where, Tim, you're into let's just get to the chase here, because realistically people will email all the time and, hey, can we just get the pricing? We're just searching pricing. And, Sarah's more of that, well, if you meet us first, we can give you all the answers you need, because, it is that interaction that's a huge part of it too. So the two of you coming together with both of those things, you're definitely going to give the people what they want and need for information and comfort for their wedding, and other jobs as well. I mean, it does take that balance, and doing it on your own,
you find yourself leaning one way or the other, and that attracts a certain client, and that's about all you can do. So, it's hard to make that balance within yourself happen. We have a wide range of photographers listening. I mean, they're all over the place, from beginners to people kind of at a plateau and they're intermediate. And we do have a lot of advanced people out there who are just liking to hear the changes in the business that other people are undergoing. But could you share with Photo World one thing you think would lead to growth and success in a photography business, regardless of their current level?
I would just say, keep working, keep moving forward. Photographers never really stop. I think, while it's important to take some time for yourself, for the most part, from day one, we've been working really hard. We don't have really set hours all the time. There's days where, it feels really hard, but for the most part, it's such a rewarding job. I think that this is not something, again, going back to the beginning, it doesn't get handed to you. This is not something that comes easily to anybody. Taking pictures is really fun, but having a working business and something you can, buy groceries and pay rent. Like, at the end of the day, you need to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And I'd say never stop shooting. Like, go on trips, look at other photographers. Keep shooting, keep doing different things. Don't just shoot one thing, because it's all intertwined. It's all going to inspire you. Yeah, just don't give up. If, you feel like you've made a mistake or you didn't book somebody, that's okay. Just keep moving on. I mean,
it's hard to separate the personal feeling from the business understanding. We get that little rejection. We're like, oh man, they didn't like me. They didn't like my pictures. They didn't like my work. It could be that you're just a little too expensive, and that's okay. It could be that somebody offered a better deal and that worked for them, or they liked somebody else's personality a little more. It's not the end of the world, and you can take it personally. I know I did so long in the beginning, just every time it didn't work out, I was just super bummed. But now it's like, okay, instead of focusing on that, what else is out there? What else can I do? So just move forward, get away from what's behind you, because that doesn't really matter that much anymore. Learn from it and move forward. So
what's the quote? Like, don't look backwards. You're not going that way.
Yeah. To this end, and getting inspired and kind of looking for the next thing, we kind of stumble across these highlights that stand out as these moments. We call them aha moments often, or just these high points that stick out. And I don't think there's ever really one or two that really are the only ones, but there's these pinpoints along the way. Can you recall one aha moment during your career and it just hit you like, oh my gosh, we got to make a major change in our business in this way because of whatever, and you knew what to do from there?
This was another one I think that we were thinking about for a while. I don't know if we've had any really big aha moment. I think that I feel like I keep repeating myself in the sense that, it's all baby steps. It's all one day at a time. Like, of course we have goals that we're looking for,
When did that start? When did that thought process change for you two? Was it individually in your own businesses, or when you came together, like, you know what, let's just take it one at a time? Did that hit at a time in your career?
I would say, from the very beginning with us, we just kind of, wedding photography especially wasn't something that either of us had really set out to do. We were both working separately in commercial photography. A friend of a friend was like, hey, can you guys shoot my friend's wedding at City Hall? And we were like, oh yeah, sure. We'll do that this weekend. And we came home and looked at each other and we were like, this was really, really fun. It was fun to work together. We really enjoyed being a part of these people's day. And from there, it really just sort of slowly snowballed into the business that it is now. There's never a point where we're like, oh, and now we've made it, or now, we need to make this big adjustment in our workflow. I think it's always been one day at a time. There's never been any really huge expectation from our end. It's mostly always been just, let's create a great product for these people.
I would say it's definitely been evolutionary, and that's probably the difficulty. So instead of, one big change, everything is just constantly being refined towards a specific goal, I would say. But sometimes, obviously, these goals change a little bit too.
Right.
So it's difficult.
It's a difficult question to answer.
It is. And actually, I think you did a good job answering it. And maybe because I kind of pulled a ninja move on you and forced you into it. But it was just, I think having you, sure, let's do that little courthouse wedding. No big deal. But coming home, that was the aha moment in my mind of where something clicked in a way of like, you know what? This feels good. It's a different thing than we're used to. And looking at your business now, it's the majority of what you do. So, yeah. I mean, obviously, it may not have been like, all right, tomorrow we're taking down our sites, putting up only wedding stuff. It didn't happen like that, but that might have been a big stepping stone, a big change, even though it was a little step at a time getting there. It was a big turning point in a little bit of a different direction. Rather than an I made it moment, maybe a point where you felt very validated in what you're doing. You got a publication, you got a particular job that was just a little bit bigger deal than you were expecting, whatever the case may be, like something along those lines that really, showed we must be doing something right because this happened.
I would say as lovely as having work featured on like blogs and all of that's all really great. Mm-hmm. I think the wedding photography industry has shifted a little bit just in the last, I'd say 5 years. And it's become so much more about like all the design and details and, the money that's put into these events is crazy to me sometimes. No offense. We love photographing it. It's beautiful. Yeah. But I would say the biggest compliment for us is always referrals from friends or somebody coming up and saying, oh, I've seen so-and-so's photos or this one photo was so important to me. My grandmother passed away, a couple months after this wedding and having this photo of me and her. Those kinds of moments are always really special and always a big reminder of why we're doing this. Mm-hmm. So, I think you can't forget the heart and soul of what you're doing.
So, Tim and Sarah, during your photography career so far, what is the best advice you've ever received?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Best advice that we've ever received.
Really early on, I'm not very social media savvy. I think I was the last person on the planet to get a Facebook account. And it was only because we were starting this business. I had a few girlfriends who were telling me pretty early on, and they were all getting married at the time. They were like, you need a blog. Blog your images, put up images all the time, keep showing new work because people want to see new work over and over again. That, right. They can see that you've shot one really pretty wedding. I think it's really important to take the time to put new work up all the time for people to see. I think that really, for us, that really matters. I think that's a lot of our clients have commented that makes them feel really good, that they see that we're working all the time. They're seeing new things all the time. We live in this generation where we're, really quickly bored. I think we like instant gratification. So yeah. It does take a little bit of extra time to put the blog post together, but, keep putting new work up for people to see it.
Right. I mean, sitting down to remake your website is more of like an annual thing rather than a weekly thing. But a blog, you can just do a little bit here, a little bit there on a daily basis or every other day, whatever works, and find a system. But I think that's a really good point to bring up. Tim, sorry, it looked like you were going to say something.
That can definitely help. I think along the same lines between weddings, from our own experience, from the results that we see when Sarah's blogging regularly, and from other professional photographers I've seen or commercial photographers who work a lot, the commonality is that they are working a lot, and so they get more work, and they're putting new work up so other people know that they're working a lot, right? So yeah. It's kind of an odd case, and it isn't the greatest thing if you're not working a lot, but people like to see that you're busy, and then they think that there's obviously it's like the busy restaurant, right?
Right.
People go for the restaurant that has the line out the door because you figure, there's a reason why everybody's there, so that's where I want to go, not the one that has.
No one wants to walk into an empty restaurant.
Right.
So it's a similar sort of thing. Obviously, to get to that busy place, not you have to get there because not everybody is that way.
Right. Tim, Sarah, a little bit of a curveball here, and it's hard to picture because you do have a business, you have a website, you have everything going on for you, and you're taking the steps and doing the work. But if you had to start over tomorrow, you still have the same gear and the same knowledge that you currently have today, but your business is totally gone. You don't have a website. Nobody knows who you are. What is the first thing you would do to begin your new photography business?
I think I would be less fearful. I think so many years were spent, like the first few years out of photography school were spent maybe not taking opportunities because I was worried that maybe it wouldn't go well, or I don't want to look bad, or I let fear get in the way of a lot of opportunity for myself. And I think at this point now, I would just try it. There is a lot that I think that I didn't do strictly out of fear.
Is it? I guess would this also be logistically speaking, or?
Sure, add to it that way. I think you can.
I mean, now I think everybody knows the importance of a website. Mm-hmm. So you don't have anything. The first thing to do is to put up a website and have a way to get your work out there, and that's one of the easiest ways.
I think these are great points to bring up. Get some presence online. Something I said early on in my career, and I still use it today. Fake it till you make it, Yeah. Just get something going. Start it, because the worst that could happen is hearing no.
Yeah, and that's it.
That's it. I mean, that's as bad as it can get. So, Tim and Sarah, do you have an app or an internet resource that Photo World could benefit from knowing about?
I do not have an app that the Photo World.
Is there a website or a blog or photography, something online you guys look to every once in a while? Or
I mean, there's so many really beautiful wedding blogs that I love looking at. And I think every region has a different one that's really popular there. Mm-hmm. Style Me Pretty is a really beautiful wedding blog. Green Wedding Shoes is a really beautiful wedding blog. If you just want to go and look at them for inspiration.
I think just maybe reiterating what Sarah had brought up earlier is it's just important to look at work. So it's not just one website, because websites are the easiest way to see other photographers' work. It's a great thing about having the internet compared to when we had to buy or go to a library and look at a photographer's book. I think just looking at people's work. So whatever kind of work that you're interested in doing, looking at other people's work can really help, and also looking at other people who do work that's completely different. Right. Because good photography is good photography. It doesn't matter what subject matter it might be. There might be something that you can learn and inspire. And in some cases, or a lot of cases, I think sometimes looking at people's work who do something completely different from what you do can actually be better.
It's way, way better.
Because then you're not feeling as though you should emulate somebody else or do something similar to whatever photographer it might be, instead of just trying something yourself and being more creative, inspired by somebody.
Okay, so this could be separate or together. I'm fine with either way here. What is one piece of gear that you could not live without aside from your camera? Because we definitely need that.
You would say
tripod? No, Tim loves his tripod. I hate tripods, but I think you do really great, long exposures. You have a tripod with you all the time.
I do. And whenever we travel, generally I take a tripod because I know if I don't take it, I'll want it.
Yeah.
It's all about the lenses, right? You have to have, you can have kind of a crummy camera, but if you have beautiful lenses, if you have good glass, that's where, the image quality is going to come from.
Is there a particular lens that ends up being a go-to for you?
I actually love the 70-200 for weddings.
Very good, very good. Well, we are about to wrap it up here for our interview today, and I do thank you for being here. But before we go, could you share with Photo World one parting piece of guidance, the best way that they could reach you to either follow your work or, even interact with you, whether it be a website or social media, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah. I mean, the piece of guidance would just be the same thing I've been saying over and over again. Be a nice person, work really hard, keep moving forward. Come talk to us. If you're in the city, would love to grab a drink. Otherwise, email studio@ryonlockhart.com. We have a website. It's just ryonlockhart.com, and our blog is linked from there. We're on Instagram.
And it's spelled Ryon, so it looks like a spelling mistake. It's not.
email us if you have any questions. We're happy to answer the best way we can. Do you have anything, honey?
No, I think you covered it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. And Photo World, you know well, and if you don't, you're hearing it now. You can find these links that they're giving out on the show notes page on Taking Talk Pics. I'm going to compile your social links and websites so that we can find you from there. So, go to them directly. Great. If you can't find it, I'll have it in one stop on Taking Talk Pics. Just type in Tim or Sarah in the search bar, and their show notes page will come right up there for you, Photo World. Tim, Sarah, I cannot thank you enough for your time today and sharing such great value. Photo World thanks you, and happy shooting.
Thank
you. You're very, very good at this. You should definitely keep doing this.
Hey, Photo World, do you ever need a source on where you can find a way to get your travels in order? besttravelforless.com is the place to go. I use them for all my travel booking needs, for whether it be a destination wedding or just to get away. You can find their information directly on the affiliates page over at takingtalkpics.com or reach out through besttravelforless.com. I hope you enjoyed that episode today. The interview went so well with a lot of great information. Be sure to tune in next time where we feature another photographer and telling their journey.